Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. European Union trade ministers are meeting to discuss President Donald Trump's plan to impose a 30% tariff on most EU imports from August the 1st. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the bloc is still pushing for a deal, but will prepare retaliatory measures if needed. Air India CEO Campbell Wilson has urged staff not to draw premature conclusions about last month's deadly crash in Ahmedabad. His memo followed a preliminary report detailing cockpit confusion and fuel switches being flipped before the Boeing Dreamliner went down, killing 260 people. The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai said on Monday no time or place has been set to resume nuclear talks with the United States. He added that Tehran would only return to talks if it believed diplomacy could be effective. President Donald Trump says the US will send various pieces of very sophisticated military equipment to Ukraine, including Patriot missile systems. Trump's again voiced frustration with Vladimir Putin, saying he talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening, while Kiev warns offensive weapons may also be included. The G20's financial stability watchdog released a new plan to tackle climate risks but paused further policy work as the US pulls back. Washington's exit from key groups studying climate impacts on financial stability has tested global unity on climate-related policy. President Trump says he hopes to get the Gaza situation, quote, straightened out in the next week, while his envoy Steve Witkoff confirmed he will meet senior Qatari officials in New Jersey. Witkoff added he is hopeful about making progress on ceasefire negotiations to end the ongoing conflict. Russia's local administration said that Ukrainian drones attacked a training center at the Russia-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant using 3 UAVs. The administration claimed there was no critical damage, while Reuters could not independently verify the report. China's Vice President Han Zheng told India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar that the two countries should steadily advance practical cooperation. Speaking in Beijing, Han said both sides must respect each other's concerns and promote stable development of bilateral relations. Now for our top story, we head to Europe, where the European Union's Trade Commissioner Markus Šefčovič said he plans to hold talks with his US counterparts today as Brussels scrambles to avoid President Donald Trump's threatened 30% tariffs on EU imports. Let's take a listen in to his comments.
I intend to speak with my US counterparts again later today, as I cannot imagine walking away without genuine effort.
Šefčovič, who is leading negotiations for the EU's 27 countries, warned that such tariffs would practically eliminate transatlantic trade, calling them a prohibitive measure. Speaking ahead of a meeting with EU trade ministers in Brussels, Šefčovič warned that we have to do everything we can to avoid this scenario. He also stressed that the EU must be prepared for all outcomes, including well-considered proportionate countermeasures. Meanwhile, Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has confirmed that the EU is ready to impose tariffs worth 21 billion euros on American goods if no deal is reached. Tajani said a second package could follow if talks fail, adding that tariffs would hurt everyone, starting with the United States. We're now joined by our guest, Mark Sutherland, who's a geopolitical commentator. He joins us live from London to discuss the most recent tariff developments. Mark, thank you very much for joining us. This deadline has been extended once again. Donald Trump's tariffs have not yet been put into place, with many countries uncertain over what number they're going to get. However, 30% has been the number put forward so far for the European Union, a jump of 10% from the previous 20 in April. What are the most immediate economic risks for the EU and also, of course, the US if a 30% tariff is imposed on EU imports?
Good to be with you. Well, the most important thing that we need to understand is that Donald Trump is trying to build the American economy back as fast as he can in regard to the pre-COVID era and the doldrums of the Biden 4 years, even though they managed to survive, and they look back and actually that was under the Trump administration and what they did in building up the economy. In regard to the EU, it is basically at the moment, America is one of our, if not the biggest trading partner. And we need to take this very, very, very seriously. But the Donald needs to reset his economy, and his main emphasis is getting manufacturing back into America. Of course, they have a huge debt. There is debt to constantly renegotiate, and by constantly renegotiating, that means he has this balance. He is convinced, as the administration is convinced, that they will be able to bring in immediately revenue, that they could immediately see $300 billion coming into America. We have got two systems. Now, this is my own particular view on this. We then have a sort of collectivist socialist mindset of within the European Union, which is extremely protectionist. They knew that this was coming from April. Donald Trump has threatened, as you said, 30%. That may even go up to 50%. There's going to be a discussion over copper. But all of our economies, as I reflect on the UK, we are in a very, very serious situation economically across Europe. So we are all facing this. And remember, it's 26 countries that leave. Even though we are not in Europe, we left. 23rd of June, we had a vote. 17,410,752 people, with a majority over 1 million, left to then be able to take control of our own economy. There's a huge subject that, Thomas, you and I would need to debate that for hours, but we voted to take control back so that we could go to America and negotiate our own deal. That supposedly is what we have done. Whether that deal is good is always up for huge political debate. But the commissioner from Europe, this is the big thing to understand, is that one man, one woman team is negotiating on behalf of 26 countries. And each of those 26 countries have different expectations, different needs. It's not a one size fits all, which is what the EU grew into from, you could say, from its common market days when we joined, which is another story in itself of how that came about. We desperately need that market, Thomas. There's no doubt about it.
Mark, economists globally have voiced their concerns with these tariffs. This the reimposition of them after the 90-day pause has crept back on us after and then we've received a further pause up to August the 1st. Obviously, the global markets have also reacted accordingly to that concern. Šefčovič, who's organising this deal in behalf of the European Union, has warned that 30% tariffs would, quote, practically eliminate transatlantic trade. How realistic is that outcome, and what do you think would be the larger global impact?
How realistic is that outcome? I think, as we know, that the President Trump it's the art of the deal. He wants to make deals. He enjoys making deals. Is what he absolutely thrives on, and what he then does is use a carrot and stick. He has used these deadlines. When you are in a situation in regard to the European economy, we need all the markets that we can get, and we need to be as competitive for the markets that we are selling to as much as we can be. So there's a mindset change that has to change, and as has been reported on other channels, car manufacturers from Germany, Audi, Mercedes, etc., VW, are concerned about their market share and what they're being able to then send out to the US and then want to try and negotiate that separately to get a deal to make sure that the tariffs that are threatened against their product actually doesn't happen. It's, as way I see it, it is profoundly serious, because we need that income. All countries need that income, and the other thing is when we're starting to see the whole debate about copper tariffs and other metals and other stuff that's vitally important for so many people's economy, and the prices of those going up all over the place. This is extremely serious.
Yes, Mark. The European Union has received a letter which Donald Trump has put out on his Truth Social. The EU says it's preparing for all outcomes, including countermeasures if these tariffs do come into place. Back in April, when we saw China and the United States start their tit-for-tat trade war, which has simmered down now, we saw the Americans and the Chinese both scramble for deals. However, if countermeasures come at the United States from all angles, do you think how do you think the US economy will be affected by that?
Well, the big thing is as we've said earlier, he wants to get factories back in. He has already been threatening Apple as a company to put 25. Sorry, someone's just talking across me. To put 25% tariffs on their goods by getting everything back in to the United States. This is what they are concerned about. The big one is pharmaceuticals. He wants to be in a position where he has got good stocks of those to then be even in a greater position to push greater deals, Thomas. It's also on a knife edge, because it's about what America needs. Pharmaceuticals is one, according to them. That's we can have another debate about the rights and wrongs of that. But the fact that he needs those within America control, because so much of that comes from China. So it depends what the goods are. Plus, he's trying to build that framework up, so he's got good stocks of stuff, so we can then move from that point and then put countries again on the back foot for better deals.
Mark Sutherland, thank you very much for joining us. Pleasure having you on the programme. We now move over to our next story, and to South Asia we go, where an internal memo for Air India's CEO has provided key updates regarding the ongoing investigation into the recent crash involving one of the airline's Boeing 787 aircraft. The CEO emphasised that the investigation is still far from over, following the preliminary report that failed to pinpoint a definitive cause of the crash. The memo also stressed that no recommendations were made in the preliminary findings, urging everyone to avoid premature conclusions. Addressing concerns about the flight crew, the CEO confirmed that the pilots had passed the mandatory pre-flight breathalyzer test, and there were no observations related to their medical status. Additionally, the memo assured that no issues were found with the quality of fuel or any abnormalities during the aircraft's takeoff roll. Air India is committed to maintaining full cooperation with the investigators and performing all necessary checks, as well as any new ones suggested by authorities. Every Boeing 787 in the airline's fleet was inspected shortly after the incident, with all aircraft cleared as fit for service, according to Air India. Furthermore, the preliminary report found no mechanical or maintenance issues with the aircraft or its engines, providing some reassurance about the plane's condition. The airline remains focused on ensuring the safety of its operations. We're now joined by Captain S.S. Painsar, who's an aviation expert and ex-director of flight safety for Indian Airlines. Thank you very much for joining us live from New Delhi. Captain, what additional steps do you think should investigators take now to make sure that the preliminary report, to make sure that the preliminary report has no definitive cause?
Well, I have just come to know that the Boeing has set the position and the system of fuel switches is a safest system. There's no change required. At the same time, the Air India has announced that they have done the changes in the fuel switches. Let me tell you one thing. No airline can change anything in the system of the aircraft without the permission of the Boeing company. How they have changed the position of the situation of the fuel switches without taking permission from Boeing company? Now, I have been telling right from the beginning, let there be judicial inquiry. All these people, especially the head of the operation department, chief operating officer, and the director, head of the engineering department, they should be taken into the custody till the report is out. Now, all these changes they're making, it seems that our aviation is becoming a mockery of civil aviation in the world. Somebody said we have done the changes in the fuel switches. Boeing said, no, this system is very fail-safe, there's no changes required. Now, what is going on? Is it the way the airline has to run? Who are the people giving these statements? They should be taken into custody immediately. And it is high time they should ask for judicial inquiry instead of this closed-door investigation.
Yes.
It's a very sad state of affairs which is running in this country. And are they trying to pacify the public by giving false statements, or they want to give a justifiable reason that made this crash to happen? So that we want to find out why it led to this crash, so that we find out the methods to improve the system so that it doesn't occur in future.
As we've said, Captain Painter, this is a preliminary report with a final report expected soon. However, as you have said, and as have we said, there is no definitive answer to why this plane crashed, leading to the death of over 270 people here. How common is it for a preliminary aviation report to be inconclusive like this one has been? And what does that tell us about this investigation timescale?
Sir, I think this investigation is just a cover-up operation. There are no experts. They have to be very, very expert people to investigate this accident, which I think this AAIB is lacking all those experts. We would like to know their experience and the training they have done regarding investigation of accidents in the world where they have done it. They are just giving on their imagination, the reports and all that. There are many, many serious parameters which are involved to be investigated in this crash. Now, it is yet to be seen how these people are coming to this preliminary report. It seems to be it is given before the crash. This is applicable before the crash. They give details of the pilot's flying experience, which is not going. You tell us the reason that led to the crash, this crash at Ahmedabad, killing so many people. How do they justify this crash? We want to know the reason. We know the pilots were trained, they were well trained, they will not violate any rules of the air and the license violations or medical violation.
Yes.
But they tell us the exact reason why the crash took place.
Captain Painter, you are staying with us. We've got further information for our viewers now. The Directorate General of the Civil Aviation, otherwise known as the DGCA, is set to issue an important order following the crash of Air India's Boeing 787 in Ahmedabad. The order will likely target airlines operating Boeing 787 aircraft, instructing them to inspect the fuel switch locking mechanism after concerns were raised over the switch moving between cut-off and run modes without manual adjustment. We're once again joined by Captain Painter. Captain, can you explain the technical failure modes of the fuel cut-off switch, and what maintenance procedures should be targeted first?
Well, sir, they have to involve the pilots or engineers of Air India and a Boeing company to explain all these factors regarding fuel switches or any other thing in the system of the aircraft. I do not know if these experts who investigate, they have ever seen even the cockpit of the Boeing 787. And they are going to give judgments about the pilots and about this crash and all that. I don't expect any good judgment from them or good reason to tell us why this crash took place. It is high time the judicial inquiry should be appointed immediately, and people who are responsible should be taken to custody for the statements.
Yes, Captain.
Head of the engineering is responsible, chief operating officers are responsible to tell us what changes. Are they done any changes of their own? Are they taken permission from the Boeing company to make changes in the fuel switches? And let me tell you, in very severe impact, the fuel system, the levers can also change their position because it's a very severe impact. We would like to know who was the wreckage expert. What was the statement at the site of the thing? Did he watch the wreckage?
Yes.
You see, after such a serious impact at 280 knots when you hit a building, a lot of switches change their position. Do they have any wreckage expert? Who was the wreckage expert who went to the site and gave a report? We would like to know the report of a wreckage expert, number one. Number two, we want to know the statement of people around the crash site. Number three, let them make the CVR as a public. Let them display it in the public what is the talk taken place. Or they are just telling us what they are hearing it on the CVR.
Yes.
Only a
Captain
proficient person
we've
who has
got
been flying this aircraft and decode the CVR.
We've got a related development coming at you. Captain Painsar, you are staying with us to discuss it. South Korea is set to order airlines operating Boeing jets to inspect the fuel switches on their aircraft. This follows an investigation into the deadly Air India air crash last month. A 2018 advisory from the US Federal Aviation Administration had recommended inspections of these switches, but did not mandate them. Boeing and the FAA had previously assured airlines that the fuel switch locks were safe. However, South Korea's Transport Ministry says the checks will align with FAA guidance, though no timeline has yet been given. We're once again joined by Captain S.S. Painsar. South Korea itself experienced a terrible air crash. 179 people died in December of last year. How significant is South Korea's decision here, Captain, to mandate the inspections of the Boeing fuel switch locks compared to the FAA's 2018 non-mandatory advisory? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Based on your experience with the 787's fuel system, how could this locking mechanism move from run to cutoff during the flight without any crew intervention?
Well, I haven't flown 787, but I've flown Boeing 737 Classic, Airbus A300. No pilot will put the fuel switches off intentionally without any reason or unless it is recommended in the checklist. In case of any malfunction, does the checklist recommend them to put the fuel lever off? No pilot. And the time from the aircraft got airborne at Ahmedabad until the time of crash, hardly any time.
Captain.
We have to weigh every aspect of this crash site till the impact of the aircraft with the ground.
Yes, indeed. Captain Panis.
I do not know what sort of expertise they have, and they are just making a mockery of civil aviation in India.
Captain Panis, thank you very much for joining us on the programme and for your insights. It's been a pleasure. We now move over to Europe, where Russia attacked Ukraine's Sumy and Mykolaiv region as US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg arrived in Kiev for crucial defence talks. This followed as US President Donald Trump announced that new Patriot air defence systems will be sent to Ukraine. This comes after a pause in arms deliveries earlier this month, but Trump has reversed course, criticising Russian President Vladimir Putin for escalating attacks as peace talks have stalled. In a Telegram post, Ukrainian President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak, welcomed Kellogg's visit, reaffirming the principle of peace through strength endorsed by Trump. While Trump has prioritised Patriots, he specified that the US would not bear the cost. Kellogg's visit comes as Moscow intensifies aerial strikes on Ukraine, including daily drone attacks. We're now joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao, who is a fellow at the Hudson Institute, joining us live from Tokyo, Japan, to discuss the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict in further detail. Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for joining us. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump's comments, first of all? He says that he seems to have significantly made another U-turn in regards to his position on Vladimir Putin. once again, frustration growing with the Russian president, now allowing previously paused military aid to now get to Kyiv. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump changing his position once again and helping Ukraine?
President Trump's negotiation style is bilateral negotiation by using pressure came from the remark or the sanctions or tariff or this one is the pattern. But in case of Russia, a little bit different. But anyway, the strategy course is same. A little bit different is he has the two cards. One is he looks like the pro-Russian politician. That's why this is a good chance for Putin to negotiate. Instead of this, he should cease the battle. And another one is unpredictability. Unpredictability could be the pressure for Russia, so that's why imposing the sanction or unpredictable pressure will import to Russia. That is another card. So one side is beneficial, another card is intimidation style or pressure side. But both of the two cards are reducing the power to persuade Russia because firstly, pro-Russian stance face a problem because anyway, United States cannot abandon the Ukraine. This means that if the Russia intensifies attack to Ukraine, United States need to support Ukraine. And when the Zelensky-Trump battle has happened, debate has happened in February this year, after that, temporarily, the U.S. stopped the support, but after stopped the support, U.S. need to restart the support to Ukraine. So this action itself to prove that U.S. cannot escape from the supporting Ukraine. So that card was already diminished. Another card is so still the U.S. has unpredictability or the pressure side card. But in this case, this is only card President Trump can use it. So gradually he intensifies this pressure card to Russia, but not impose fully yet. So that's why this time he start to increase increase support to Ukraine, but still he hasn't imposed tougher sanction yet. So he's waiting, but increasing the pressure and leads the tougher sanction. That is the style of President Trump just now. The problem is it enough pressure or is it enough beneficial the U.S. can provide to Russia? Indeed, not enough until now. So that's why Russia do not show enough will and enough action to seize their battle. They intensify the attack to Ukraine, so that's why in this President Trump's style of the negotiation towards Russia hasn't worked well yet.
Yes, indeed. And as you have mentioned briefly, the possible risks that this could actually increase the conflict further. How do you think Vladimir Putin is looking at this move from the US president?
View from the President Putin, this is a chance to buy time because in the battlefield, gradually or one by one, they have increasing the territory they got. So that's why the war itself, containing war itself, is beneficial for Putin. So that's why he wants to continue the battle in the Ukraine, and in this case, continuing the current situation is beneficial for Russia. But Russia want to avoid a tougher sanction from the United States. So that's why the buying time is the strategy. So on surface, the Russian side message is quite friendly for the ceasefire, but reality is completely opposite. That is the current President Putin's policy, and that is the reason President Trump is very frustrated, I guess.
Dr. Nagar, thank you. You are staying with us as we discuss Further developments now from the Indo-Pacific, where China's exports have gained momentum in June, while imports rebounded as companies rushed shipments to capitalize on a fragile tariff truce between Beijing and Washington ahead of an August deadline. Chinese custom official Wang Lingjun said that Beijing hopes that the US will continue to work together with China. Let's listen to his comments.
框架来之不易，讹诈胁迫没有出路，对话合作才是正道。希望美方继续同中方相向而行，让合作成为中美经贸的主旋律，推动全球贸易体系重回公平与开放的轨道。 为全球经济复苏和增长做出应有的贡献。上半年，我国进出口规模站稳20万亿元的台阶，创历史同期新高。从季度走势看，2季度进出口同比增长4.5%，比1季度加快了3.2个百分点。 连续7个季度保持同比增长。
Customs data released today showed China's exports rose 5.8% year on year, outperforming forecasts, while imports climbed 1.1% following a decline in May. Trade ties appeared to stabilize in June after talks in Geneva revived a delicate agreement between the world's two largest economies. China's rare earth exports surged by 32% from May, signaling that recent agreements may be easing supply chains. China faces an August the 12th deadline to reach a long-term deal with the White House amid growing trade pressures from both the United States and the European Union. We're now joined again by Dr. Nagao. How significant is this June surge in China's exports and also imports in the context of the tariff truce with the US?
Trade has improved, but this is not enough level. What does this mean is the matter. In this case, because President Trump imposed tariffs all over the country in the world, that's why we haven't identified the difference, the tariff on China and tariff on other countries easily. But this is the tactics of the Trump administration. Indeed, the reality is the Trump administration focusing on China more than others. Because such kind of sign, there is many signs to prove this. Because, for example, President Trump imposed a high tariff when he swung in. So that's why this was January, February, that beginning of this term. That time, President Trump imposed a tariff to Canada, Mexico, and China. Despite this, in case of tariff on Canada and Mexico, postpone again and again. But in case of China, increase steadily every time. So now, because of the negotiation between US and China, after the China started to restrict export rare earths to the United States, it looks like US-China has already deal, and it looks like it will improve the trade between US and China. But that is not true, the view from the US long-term strategy. US think China is rival. Other country is not rival, the trade partner, but China is rival. So in this case, US impose sanction more to China as imposing high tariff. So this is logical view from the long-term strategy. So yes, the US is facing the reality, which is you need the layers from China currently, but temporarily the United States try to manage the situation based on reality, but in the long run, US will not allow China to increase their income through the trade and making the strong military against the United States. So that's why this is a temporal move, not long term, I believe. Thank you.
Yes, we have some more news coming from the region. Taiwan's military has carried out major drills as part of its annual Han Kuang exercise. Military police used Taipei's subway system to simulate the redeployment of troops and supplies during a logistics drill. The Air Force also protracted emergency runway repairs, simulating an airbase damaged in an enemy attack. Officials say the exercises are unscripted and designed to mimic real combat scenarios, beginning with attacks on communications and escalating to a full-scale invasion. Taiwan says the drills are meant to demonstrate its readiness and determination to defend against any threat from China. Dr. Nagao joins us once again. What is the significance of these war games that are occurring in Taiwan, and what does it say about their military capabilities and how ready they are for a possible invasion after threats and tensions with China?
In this case, we should analyze this based on the two aspects of this military exercise. One is will, and another one is capability. View from the will, Taiwan, because of China increased the pressure by using the military. For example, in one day, the 53 military jet, China is around Taiwan and making pressure to Taiwan. Under such kind of situation, Taiwan need to show the strong message to China that Taiwan will not accept China's intimidation. And at the same time, Taiwan's government need to show the strong stance towards the people in Taiwan, which is the Taiwan government will protect you. And at the same time, Taiwanese people also cooperate with the government to defend Taiwan. So that's why this time the exercise is 10 days, very long, but many exercise contents has happened in the subway or civil sector. And because Taiwan government show how to deal with the situation, but at the same time, they show their will to resist China's invasion and persuade the common Taiwanese people to cooperate with the government to resist it. So that is the will part. Capability part is also related with, of course, persuading the people to join the battle. That's why the civil area they use for the military purpose, military training. But at the same time, they try to show the latest weapon in these exercises to show Taiwan's military capability. This time, they received the latest tank M1 Abrams from the United States, or HIMARS, which is a 300-kilometer rocket, precision rocket. So this rocket can reach the coastal area of China. So when China tries to invade Taiwan, Taiwan side can attack the logistical part of the Chinese military by attacking the coastal line of China. This rocket proved it. And even if China lands Taiwan Island, the strong tank or other short-range weapons resist invasion and maintain the Taiwan as an independent place. But that is capability side Taiwan want to show through the exercises. Fighter jet is also holding the airport, and the engine is act but refuel. So what is this operation? For any time this fighter jet can fly because the engine is active.
Yes.
So from this readiness is showing the will and capability both. So that's why this is important political message, at the same time military message, but both is included. Thank you.
Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. For our next story, we move over to the Middle East, where Iran has confirmed that there's no specific date set for a meeting between its Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and US Envoy Steve Witkoff regarding the nuclear program. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baqi stated that no details have been finalised about the time, location or schedule for the talks. The negotiations had been underway before Israel launched strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities last month, a situation that was later joined by the United States. We're now joined by Berzin Wagmar, who joins us from the Center for Iranian Studies. He joins us live from London right now. Berzin, thank you very much for joining us. This is obviously an ongoing saga with muddy messaging from both sides. However, Iran has now said that there has been no date or venue set for possible future US talks with Iran in regards to Iran's nuclear program. What does this delay reveal about the level of trust negotiation between Iran and the United States?
There is a trust deficit between Tehran and Washington, no question about it. And conflicting messages back and forth reveals one too many communication gaps insofar as I'm concerned. Because on 5th July, we were given to understand that the Supreme National Council had instructed the Foreign Ministry in Tehran to resume indirect talks with Washington. And then there was plans in the air for having talks in Oslo. Nothing came to pass naturally with that. And so it has been a question of very much everything is in the limbo. Then you have President Pezeshkian having passed a law which effectively states that Iran will not cooperate with the Atomic Agency, the nuclear watchdog in question, IAEA, and that, but at the same time, it concomitantly also stated that it would cooperate with the agency on a case-by-case basis. That is to say, presumably site by site or whatever is required, and that such cases would be only considered in light of Iran's security. Now, that's for not visiting all sites, that is to have inspections, and also so that ballistic missiles and other test production sites are completely out, which were in any case not part of the original JCPOA, and which all has been the bane of all our issues, if you think about it, that it was on today itself when the plan came into effect back in July 2015 and President Obama announced it. So this is where we are currently.
Berzin, we don't have much time. However, you did mention a third crucial player in this, which is the nuclear UN watchdog, the IAEA. How do you analyze the current relationship that it has with Tehran and the future with the UN nuclear watchdog and Tehran's nuclear program?
Tehran has taken it upon itself to think that the IAEA green-lighted the attacks by President Trump. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is simply not acceptable. And Director General Grossi has been at pains to point that out. All he mentioned in that last interim report was of 60% enrichment. That is, Iran had the potential to produce 9 to 10 bombs, which is theoretically correct and stands up to scrutiny. At the same time, Director General Grossi has also pointed out that on 27 June, according to satellite cameras and other such investigations, we have come to the conclusion that at the Natanz facility, Iran has started filling up the craters in question, which were damaged by the bunker bombs. So they have started work on it, which also led him to mention that centrifuges could be spinning within a matter of months, because the technical know-how and infrastructure is very much there for Iran to resume enrichment.
Yes, Berzin Wagmar, you are staying with us to discuss more updates from the region. We have some news coming in. An explosion at a residential building in the Pardisan neighborhood of Qom, Iran, has injured 7 people, according to Iranian media. The blast damaged 4 apartments and was likely caused by a gas leak, according to the local fire department, which said follow-up investigations are still underway. According to Iranian media, the incident was not linked to any Israeli attack, adding that the building's residents were ordinary citizens. Since last month's 12-day air war between Israel and Iran, a series of explosions have been reported inside Iran, but officials have not blamed Israel for any of them. Berzin joins us once again. How would you say the Iran's capabilities in dealing with these ongoing humanitarian issues and domestic issues will now have on the people of Iran, given that they are reeling from this conflict?
Yes, could I just add this, Thomas, that there are unconfirmed reports that there was an explosion yesterday in the environs of Mehrabad Airport, the old Tehran International Airport. Now, Mehrabad was struck by the Israelis during the 12-day campaign, and it was a precision strike at military hangars. But this has been reported on social media, and we still quite don't know. And then follows up with this explosion in an apartment in the city of Qom, which is beyond Tehran, southwest of Tehran. The point is, these cannot be attributed to Israel, quite rightly, and is due to either carelessness, as it happened with that port explosion in Bandar Abbas about a month ago, if you recollect too. Insofar as the people rallying, the government has been at pains to rally by calling out nationalist sloganeering, not Islamic sloganeering, to rally its population and show that it's a besieged system and that Iran is besieged, not the current Islamist regime is besieged, in order to drum up support among the masses. And there has been some sympathy even for the Revolutionary Guards, but that you can be sure would dissipate once the Guards unleash their reign of terror on the population again, which is on hold currently, because the security forces are concentrating on finding out intelligence subversives and those who it deems to be agents of Israel. And on that, they've had a spate of killings in recent times, particularly with ethno-linguistic minorities like the Kurds and the Baluchis.
Berzine Wagamar, thank you very much for your insight and joining us on the programme. Pleasure having you. We'll bring you updates on that situation as it unfolds. We stay in the region and we move over to the Gaza Strip, where the Hamas-run health ministry now says the death toll has reached at least 58,226 people, either confirmed dead or presumed killed in the ongoing conflict. The ministry claims that women and children make up more than half of the fatalities. On Sunday, Israeli airstrikes in Gaza killed at least 19 people, including 6 children who were at a water collection point. This is according to reports from the region. This happened despite efforts by mediators to push for a ceasefire. Now we move over to Israel now, where the longest-serving Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, appears in court as part of his ongoing corruption trial, where he faces serious charges of bribery, fraud and breach of public trust in 3 separate cases, allegations he firmly denies. However, critics argue that Netanyahu is deliberately prolonging Israel's war in Gaza to retain his grip on power and block a ceasefire deal that could secure the release of Israeli hostages. However, his courtroom appearance comes at a time of mounting pressure, both domestically and internationally, as questions grow over his leadership, motives and future of the conflict in Gaza. The Israeli Prime Minister has also sharply criticised Attorney General Gali Baharev Miara for announcing criminal charges against Yonatan Urich, a key aide, over alleged leaks of classified documents. Netanyahu called the charges baseless and claimed they served a hidden agenda. Urich faces accusations of leaking classified IDF materials to the press alongside another aide. Netanyahu defended Urich, saying there was no harm to state security and that he was familiar with the case details. The charges come as Baharev Miara faces mounting legal challenges and with a crucial government panel hearing today that could decide her future as AG. We now move on once again. Chinese Vice President Han Zheng told India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in Beijing, marking a key diplomatic step towards stabilizing ties. Jaishankar said India-China relations are steadily improving with a focus on practical cooperation and mutual respect. Han urged both sides to respect each other's core concerns. The talks come amid the ongoing border tensions and regional sensitivities. No joint statement followed, but analysts see the meeting as a crucial move to keep dialogue open between the two nations. US President Donald Trump will make an unprecedented second state visit to visit the United Kingdom this September. Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles III and Queen Camilla will host the president and First Lady Melania Trump from September the 17th to September the 19th at Windsor Castle. The visit comes a full ceremonial welcome and a state banquet. Trump's first state visit to the United Kingdom was in 2019. Unlike typical second-term presidents, Trump receives a rare invitation highlighting his strong ties with the monarch. Security concerns may limit public events during the visit. We're now joined by Asuma Kotoka, who is an anchor and correspondent for NewsX World, to give us further details on this. Asuma, what can you tell us?
So this is very significant. Today, Buckingham Palace announced that Trump will be visiting UK and he will be hosted by the King Charles III in Buckingham Palace from September 17th to 19th. Apparently, this is the first. This is going to mark the first of ever that U.S. president has been invited for the state visit for the second time. Not even Obama, not even Bush, not even Clinton has have this honor to be invited. And apparently, Keir Starmer himself gave this invitation with his hands, or he handed it while his visit or during his visit to the United States in White House back in February. And we can see this as Keir Starmer's soft power move, that he has done this. He has invited Trump for his second time. It's very significant, as we know that other countries have been are threatened by hefty tariffs, but UK was the very first country to land to a tariff deal with US. And also apparently Trump is a big fan of current monarch and the UK's loyal family. And they will be staying, the Trumps will be staying at the Windsor Castle, just like Macron and Bridget did earlier during their state visit to the UK, as currently Buckingham Palace is undergoing some renovation, so they'll be staying. And Trump was very thrilled about when he was handed this invitation. He said that it was great honor for Trump. However, we know that the last time during his first term, Trump visited in 2019 when he visited Buckingham Palace. There were protesters outside, and we can maybe expect that again this time as well, that there will be anti-Trump rallies outside of the Parliament or Buckingham Palace. So we can say not everyone would be welcoming. And yes, but Trump is very honored, and he will be going to go for his second state visit. Thank you.
Asuma Kotoka, thank you very much for joining us. For our next story, we stay in Europe, where France is celebrating Bastille Day today with its traditional military parade on the Champs-Élysées in Paris and firework displays nationwide. The parade commemorates the storming of the Bastille on July the 14th, 1789, a defining moment of the French Revolution. Speaking ahead of the parade, the French Interior Minister said that France needs to rearm. Let's take a listen in to what he said.
Il ne s'agit pas de faire peur, il s'agit d'être réaliste. Pour éviter la guerre, il faut préparer justement la force pour dissuader. Parce que ce qui a changé fondamentalement depuis ces dernières années, c'est que le monde est de plus en plus menaçant. On le voit d'ailleurs, les guerres sont partout. Et que celui qui a été notre protecteur au niveau européen, Les États-Unis, on ne peut plus guère compter sur lui. Et par conséquent, il faut qu'on se réarme.
This comment came as in his eve of holiday address to the military. President Emmanuel Macron announced an extra 6.5 billion euros in defence spending over the next 2 years. Macron warned that freedom in Europe faces its greatest threat since the end of World War II, pointing to dangers from Russia, nuclear proliferation and terrorism and cyber attacks. We're now showing you those live visuals from the Champs-Élysées in Paris, marking that great celebration in the French capital, attended by French President Emmanuel Macron, his wife, and also Indonesian Premier there, Prabowo Subianto. Yes, and we will bring you all the updates in regards to that. Now let's take a look at some stories from the world of sports. Jannik Sinner has made tennis history, becoming the first Italian to win the Wimbledon men's titles final after defeating Carlos Alcaraz in 4 sets of 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. The 23-year-old world number 1 overcame memories of a heartbreaking loss to Alcaraz at Roland Garros 5 weeks ago to seal the victory on centre court. The win marks Sinner's 4th Grand Slam title and his first Wimbledon crown. Alcaraz, aiming for a 3rd straight title at SW19, fought hard but couldn't top Sinner's relentless performance and pinpoint serve on match point. River Plate kicked off their Clausura campaign with a commanding 3-1 victory over Platense at the Estadio Monumental. Fasuido Kaleido opened the scoring early with a brilliant strike, while debutant Maximiliano Salas restored the lead after Platense had equalised through Ronaldo Martinez. The visitors' hopes faded in the second half after Marcus Portillo was shown a red card for elbowing Gonzalo Montiel. River sealed the win in stoppage time with a goal from Miguel Borja, securing all 3 points in their Group B opener. Jose Fermin hit his first major league home run, a 2-run blast, helping the St. Louis Cardinals edge out of the Atlanta Braves 5-4. The rain-soaked game included 2 delays lasting 4 hours. The Cardinals manager, Olivier Marmol, was ejected in the 9th for disputing calls. Wilson Contreras added 2 RBIs, and Maskin Wynn scored twice. Despite Matt Olson's 3 ribs for the Braves, St. Louis avoided a sweep with Gordon Grayeffo, earning a win, and Ryan Helsey locking down his 19th save. Brazil kicked off their campaign for a 9th Women's Copa America title with a 2-0 victory over Venezuela in Quito. Amanda Gutierrez opened the scoring in the 32nd minute after a slick team move, while Duda Sampaio sealed the win with a brilliant finish late in the game. Venezuela tested Brazil with several long-range efforts, but goalkeeper Lorena kept them at bay. Brazilian keeper Caceres also made crucial saves to deny a bigger margin. Despite Venezuela's strong challenge, Brazil showed composure to start their title defence on a winning note. New Zealand has drafted wicketkeeper batter Devon Conway into their squad for the T20 Tri-Series in Zimbabwe after opener Finn Allen was ruled out with a foot injury sustained during the Major League Cricket in the US. Coach Gary Stead expressed disappointment but welcomed Conway's inclusion. Meanwhile, Mitch Hay, Jimmy Neesham and Tim Robinson have also been called up as cover, with several Kiwi players still involved in the MLC final. The Tri-Series kicks off with Zimbabwe taking on South Africa, while New Zealand will open their campaign on the 16th of July. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world. Thank you.